Welcome to Purpose Project. My name is Leslie Pagel, and I am so glad that you are here today. We have a powerful and a deeply moving story to share with you. On today's episode, I sit down with Emily Mellentine. Emily opens up about her battle with depression and how she has used writing as a way to heal and to discover her life's purpose. She reminds us that sometimes the path to purpose begins when we step out of our own heads and allow ourselves to simply feel and create. Let's dive into Emily's inspiring story. Emily, thank you for being on Purpose Project. I am really looking forward to our conversation.
I am too. Thank you so much for having me. I'm excited.
Absolutely. Before we dive into the topic of life's purpose, tell us a little bit about you. Who is Emily?
Yeah, so I am Emily Mellentine. I am a recent graduate. I'm graduating in next month from Indiana University, Indianapolis, with my major in communication studies and a certificate in public relations and minor in women's gender and sexuality studies.
Nice.
And I'm an author. I have 2 self-published books, and I'm host of Writings from Her Corner, which is a women's social and writing group that is dedicated to building community and creating the opportunity for dedicated writing time and the space for people to be able to share their writings and bond and connect over that.
Nice. So tell us, do you have a life's purpose?
I do have a life's purpose, yes. My purpose is to heal and to help other people heal in any way that I can. And for me, that's through writing.
Okay.
Yeah. So, sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah.
So I don't feel like I have a singular purpose. I think, purpose can be ever changing and we can have many different purposes. And mine isn't exactly just to write. It's the healing with the writing and in the building community around it, using that as a common interest.
Yeah.
To build upon.
Yeah. So your purpose is to heal, is to help people heal, and you're using your passion of writing and community as the facilitator of that.
Yeah.
Yes, that's beautiful.
Thank you.
How did you come upon this as your purpose? Was there a defining moment in your life?
Yeah, definitely. So I've had a lot of moments where writing has saved my life, I feel like. It started at a pretty young age. I started dealing with major depression and anxiety, eating disorder, and suicidal ideation from when I was about in 5th grade. And I started getting treated in 7th grade. And I started going to therapy, and my therapist recommended, specifically for like the panic attacks I was having, to start writing as a coping skill and to see how that worked. And it worked really well for me. It really grounds you, gets you out of your head, and the hand movement, it brings you back into reality. And also, writing down your thoughts, seeing them visually, can really help you process them more. Because, sometimes when you have everything swirling around in your head, you believe everything and stuff. So when you see it like in front of you, you're like, oh, that's not true or whatever. It's easier to work through and process. So it started out that way. And I also just had really bad self-esteem. I just really hated myself, like how I looked, who I was. And in 8th grade, I just realized I had to change that. It felt kind of like life or death, So I started using writing as a way to love myself more. And so I started just with like a lot of affirmations. I would do that every day, just writing, I'm beautiful, and qualities about myself that I liked. And at first, I didn't really believe all that stuff I was writing, but with consistency, as you do it, I started to believe it, and I started to be able to expand upon that. And the mental health journey has continued. You know, it's a lot of ups and downs. I still have major depressive disorder, and I was recently just diagnosed with ADHD, and a couple years ago with borderline personality disorder. And some of it's definitely genetic, like some of it runs through my family. But yeah, it's never really gone away, especially the depression part. Mm-hmm. And writing, I like to say, like, I turn my pain into poetry.
That's
like
beautiful.
Being able to express all the terrible things you're feeling and thinking in a way that like makes you feel kind of proud is a really nice feeling. And then being able to share that with other people and have other people respond to that and then open up themselves about relating to stuff like that has been life-changing, I feel like. Yeah.
Thank you for sharing all of that. It sounds like your purpose, or at least writing, is helping you cope with some of the mental health challenges that you have. And your purpose is then bringing that through and helping other people heal through that. When you talked about going to a therapist and the advice of writing as a way of helping you heal or helping you process, were you already a writer? Is that something that you already had joy in, or did you discover that through the therapist?
I know that I was a writer in a sense of at school I would always get an A on like essays and stuff like that. It just came naturally. Before that, I didn't really do much with it. But as soon as that started, it didn't end. It just kept going, and it became such an important part in my life. Especially, I felt very disconnected from people, and I feel like I didn't have a very strong support system. And especially when you're dealing with depression and other mental struggles, it can be very isolating. And I used writing, I guess, as a way to not feel so alone. You know, it helped me feel less lonely, even if I wasn't sharing it with other people. I think it does take you like deeper into personal reflection. So when you're writing, whatever you're writing about, whether that's just basic journaling or you are trying to write some kind of poetry or essays or whatever, you're reflecting. So you're seeing things in a different perspective, I feel like, because you have to really think, how do I want this to come across?
Right.
Or it just comes naturally, and it just helps you gain new perspective, I feel like.
Yeah. Do you have something that you could read to us?
Yes, I do. So this is my second, Her Sweet Bitter Truths. And it's funny, the last poem is actually called Purpose.
Love it.
It is. It goes, I will craft 100 poems about gray skies, the brightness of the moon, and how the wind sways through the trees. I will type pages upon pages about glances stolen, beginnings, endings, and all the things I'd wish you'd say to me. I will choose my words carefully as black ink pours, stories, memories, make-believe, and all the things I hope will come to be. For my pen is my power, my will, my fate. I'll burn my being onto paper and watch as a pile of self-titled books rise. For in this lifetime, I write to survive.
That is beautiful.
Thank you. And I truly do feel that way, because when I am struggling, and, you know, if I'm in the middle of a breakdown or something, or if I'm just, you know, down bad, writing is just something that's always there. It's always available.
Right.
You can always go to it.
Right.
And it just makes me feel better.
Yeah.
Yeah, even if it's not perfect. And I really want people to know, especially people who come to my group and everything, to be a writer is to write, and it doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be good or, in my opinion, like grammatically correct or whatever. Like, writing is just writing. It's an expression. And whether you're just journaling or making lists, like I'm such a list person, it can all be so impactful and useful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Tell us a little bit more about your group.
Yeah. So I started it about a year ago, October of last year. My friend, Anika, she came to me and she pitched the idea. She was like, you should do this. You should make this group. And I already had the name picked out, Writings from Her Corner. I always like wanted to do something with it, but I didn't know what. And she just told me, she's like, just find a cafe, like go find somewhere and invite people and like see who comes. Like, I'm sure some people will come. And, and it was really scary at first. Even for the first, like, I've done 15 sessions and I feel like I'm just now getting confident with it. But before the sessions, like, I'll get so nervous. And then once the session starts and we're in the middle of it, everything just calms down. And by the end of the session, I just feel so full and full of light. It's very magical, especially now that I've had more sessions. So the same people are showing up and we love new people as well. But so for the first, it's usually an hour and a half.
Okay.
So it's kind of split into like 3 parts. So the first part is just mingling, just talking, getting to know each other. And sometimes if that's like a little slow, like I have social anxiety, kind of bad. And I realize like other people probably do as well. So I try to like be very accommodating during my sessions. So I always have like questions ready to go and everything. So I'll like pose questions and we just kind of get to know each other through that. And it's a great way to make friends. Like I have made a couple of my best friends through these groups, and it can be really hard as a new adult to make friends, especially if you're not in school or you just have a hard time.
Right.
So yeah, we'll all mingle, and then we'll go into independent reading or writing time.
Okay.
So people can spread out, and it'll usually be about 30, 40 minutes where we're just independently writing or reading. Before we do independent reading or writing, I'll pose a prompt. So if people want to do the prompt, they can. If not, they don't have to. And then at the very end of the session, we have time that we can share. So if that's the prompt or anything else that someone's been working on, we have that sharing time. And that's my favorite time.
I bet.
Yeah. And it's so funny. It's not funny, but so many times, so many people who share, they'll start out with saying, I'm not a writer, or, oh, I just finished this. Like, this is just a draft. Like, they'll diminish themselves in their writing before they even read it at all. And then they'll proceed to read the most, like, beautiful or profound piece and emotional. And then so many people can connect with what they're saying. I feel like very often we feel like we're alone in the things that we experience and feel. And for a while, I felt that way too, just writing in my notebook. And then as you start sharing and opening up, you get people saying, I've been through that, or I am going through that.
I can react to what you just said there, because part of your purpose is community. And that connection of I've been there, or that is helping to create community as well.
It really is. And it's very nice to have a community. Not everyone has one, and for the longest time I didn't. And I didn't know how to find one.
Yeah.
So I guess I just created one.
Yes, you did.
Yeah. And it just makes my heart happy. Like our last session was right after election results, and it was a heavy session, and I could tell it took a lot for people to come and to be there. The energy was just very heavy, and I started out just asking everyone, how are we doing? And what's one way you're taking care of yourself? Or a new way you want to start taking care of yourself? And then I posed a prompt, just write about your experience, how you're feeling about everything going on. And then we all wrote, and we all shared. And you could just feel the energy and feelings shift. Like, you come in feeling however you're feeling, depressed, angry, scared. And then we all share how we feel, and we all have such different perspectives, but also similar ideas and feelings. And it just makes you feel not alone, like you feel supported, and that you have people that are standing with you and that believe in you.
Right.
And it's just very beautiful to have that, to be able to keep coming back to.
Right. Which is the healing piece too. Yeah. So a couple observations. So Purpose Project is a research study on the topic of life's purpose. And one of the things that has become crystal clear to me is, and it's kind of obvious when you say it out loud, but I had to discover it for it to become obvious. Yeah. Is that to find our purpose, we have to go inward. We have to quiet our minds. We've got to really take a look at ourselves in the mirror and face the good, the bad, the ugly, the beautiful, all the things, the fears. And your story speaks to that as well, in terms of using writing as a way of really exploring your thoughts, your feelings, and helping you heal as well with affirmations.
Yeah. So I actually struggled with purpose for a really long time, especially with all the suicidal ideation. That was a big thing. Why am I here? What do I have to live for? Besides, obviously, family and all that good stuff. I struggled with that for a while, because I feel like society doesn't do an amazing job of wanting people to find their purpose and follow it. And I say that because once you start figuring out what I want to do for a career, some of the options can just be kind of limited. And I felt like that for a while. I was very scared to start my career and not have it aligned with my purpose and my passions. But it takes a lot to follow your passion. I feel like you have to, it's hard to even kind of discover.
Yeah.
And like I said earlier, purposes can be ever changing. And I think the basic line of purpose is to be as happy as you can be, what's going to get you there, and then just aligning yourself with the right things that you're doing and surrounding yourself with the right people.
Yeah. That's another conclusion that I'm coming to for now, is that a lot of times people think about purpose as this achievement, this goal, this mission, this thing, and they think in big grand terms, like purpose of my life. But what I'm hearing from you and from others is that it is really more of a way of being.
Yeah.
It's when our self is in alignment with our actions. How we are is aligned with what we're doing. Yeah. And it's hard because of the societal pressures or the societal norms or conditioning, whatever you want to call it. But the things that external puts on us as this is how you should live your life, or these are the careers you should pursue.
Yeah, and so much of that gets like trapped in your own head, and then you're not like really listening to that, but you're telling yourself that.
Right.
And that's what I was doing for a while too. I was so depressed because I felt like I knew what I wanted to do. I wanted to have a group of women, like, and create something like that and have that be my career. And I just felt like I can't do that. I don't know how to do that. And it was depressing until I got over that fear and realized I could do that.
Yes.
That's entirely possible. Mm-hmm. It's just changing your perspective, which is hard.
Yeah, it is.
It is really hard. And it takes a lot. And sometimes it takes going through a lot of things that don't align with you to figure out what makes your soul light up.
Right. And sometimes we get just caught up in the motions of the shoulds. Like, this is what I should do. I should go to college. I should graduate with these degrees. I should get this job. I should get married. And we're so caught up in that we don't look outside of it and say, hold on, is this what lights me up? Yeah.
That was like always just one of my biggest fears, that I'm not going to be doing what I'm passionate about.
Yeah.
Or I'm not going to be aligned with my purpose. I was always so scared of that. So I tried to go into like nonprofit work. I've worked with Girls Inc. and Indiana Humanities and Visit Indy, which are all very great organizations that help build community and enrich people's lives. It's just not a topic that a lot of people talk about regularly. Mm-hmm. No one's really having that conversation a lot. It's, all the external just kind of rules your life sometimes.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot to break out of that. And, I mean, for me, also, I will get caught back up in it. And I'll lose sight of the things that are important to me. And that happens a lot. It's just a matter of getting back into it and becoming more focused.
Yeah. I see so much courage in you.
Thank you.
And I think fear keeps people from pursuing their purpose.
Oh, yeah.
And I see you, I'm imagining you scared, but doing it anyway.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's what's happening right now. And like before every session, even my last session, I was talking to one of my friends afterwards and I was like, I just get so much anxiety before each session. And I'm like kind of winging it a little bit. I do a lot of planning, but sometimes I wing stuff and I feel awkward. And I even say, I'm like, sorry guys, I'm so socially awkward and all this stuff. I'm so anxious. And then she's like, are you kidding me? I thought that was all like amazing. Like, and it just like get out of your own head, you know? And it's so hard to do. It's really easy to think the way you always think. And for me, I've always been a more negative thinker. And it just doesn't take you anywhere. It just keeps you in the same places, the same sad, frustrating, boring places. And flipping to that positive mindset, just believing, not even positive, not the false positivity and stuff, but truly believing that things can work out for you and trusting. I really do believe in trusting the universe and what wavelength are you on? Where do you want to be? Right. How do you get there? And believing, trusting that you can get there. You can do that yourself and with other people.
What I hear from you is this real intention around shifting your thinking and an awareness of, I tend to think more negative. That's not serving me. So I'm going to shift that.
Yeah.
And I'm going to put my trust in this universe that we're all a part of, that as I shift my thoughts that my outcomes are going to change as a result.
Yeah. And I believe in manifesting too. And I also believe just in the basic logic of it, if you say something's going to happen and you make yourself believe it's going to happen, you're subconsciously going to take the actions to get to that place. It's just a matter of figuring out, what do I want?
Yeah.
What do I want to manifest? What do I want my life to look like? Or the people around me?
Yeah.
It is being intentional.
Right. Yeah. Which I just got goosebumps here because earlier you said your girlfriend came to you and said, we need to do this thing, or you need to do this thing.
Yeah.
And you already had a name. It's as if you manifested that.
I did, because in high school, I was such like an existentialist. Like, I feel like high school was just one big existential crisis for me because of purpose and like, you know, I'm going into college soon. I have to figure out my career. It was just all so scary, and I knew what I wanted to do. I was like, if I could do anything, I see myself leading a group of women, something with mental health, but I don't really want to become a therapist or, you know, that kind of stuff. Like, I saw it in my head, and then I just dismissed it. I was like, maybe that can happen one day, but realistically, I'm going to have to go different ways.
Yeah.
And so to be here now is really special. I mean, it's not my career. I am trying to turn it into that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I recently got my LLC, and I'm starting to plan workshops out. I'm doing my first collaboration with a nonprofit, Centers of Wellness for Urban Women. I'm doing a writing workshop with them.
Love that.
Yeah, and I'm like getting paid for it, which is amazing.
Good for you. Yes.
Yeah. So I would love for that to be my full-time thing, and like I can manifest that, and like one day it can happen. But it's really crazy to think about how in high school I imagined that and then just pushed it down.
Yeah, and then it came to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And yeah, I just feel like it is a matter of getting out of your own head, doing it even if you are scared.
Yeah.
Full of fear and you don't believe in yourself. I feel like believing in yourself is most of the battle.
Okay.
I do.
So how did you take us through the first group that you hosted?
Yeah.
Because that was probably, I am imagining, the biggest fear that you faced. Maybe.
I was very nervous, yes.
But even sending the invite or however you got people there, what was it? Walk us through what you were thinking and how you pushed through it.
I remember I was so anxious, so scared, even to address the group of people there. But we did it in my friend's cafe, Gaia Cafe and Botanical. And it was a good crowd. It was like 15-ish people that showed up.
So how did you get them there? Because did the fear happen before, too?
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's always happening. Like, it doesn't go away, and it's not going to go away. It's just a matter of if you're going to let it affect you and derail you or not.
Well, and the reason why I want to go before is once you say you're doing it, it's kind of not easier, but you have to do it, right?
Yeah.
So it's the commitment to do it, which in my mind is when you send the invite out.
Mm-hmm. I posted about it. I always just post on my Instagram about it. And yeah, at that point I had like, I can't remember if I just published, I don't know. I had just published one. So I was always kind of establishing myself as like a writer. So I had naturally people who followed me who were also writers, and, you know. So I just posted on Instagram and on Eventbrite. I do that with everything. And just asking people to share it on their stories as well and invite friends to it. And it's so amazing. Like, people who showed up at that first one, like, still come. And that makes me so happy.
I bet.
And just gaining new people along the way. But I remember being so scared and walking in And even as I was like thanking everyone for coming and explaining what we were going to do and stuff, my voice was so quiet and it was very, very shaky. But I did it. But I said it, like, you know, speak even if your voice shakes. And that continued, like, happening. Like, I would still have anxiety and be scared to talk until I wasn't.
Yeah.
It's doing it until you got it.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. How can those that are listening learn more about on Instagram or the group? Where can they go?
Yeah. So I actually just started a separate page now that Writings from Her Corner is becoming more of a business, like for the community. So that page is writingsfromhercorner.co.
Okay.
And then my Instagram is just Writings from Her Corner.
Okay. Well, I will put that in the show notes for those listening as well.
Yeah, and I'm always posting about my upcoming dates. One big way that I actually got into the literary community is working with Indiana Humanities.
Really?
Yeah, they host the Indiana Authors Awards. So as an intern, a lot of my job was interviewing authors and going to different bookstores. And last year, like 3 new bookstores popped up. And it seemed like the community was really starting to thrive. And I just was like, oh my God, this is such a beautiful community. Things are happening and like no one really knows about it. Like, how do you get people to know about things? I don't know.
Yeah.
It's hard.
Yeah, I know.
I was just going back to, you know, your purpose, like, it's not just selling books or whatever. Like, I just find, like, the more human you are with things and the more real you are with things, the better.
Yeah.
You know, just the authenticity
Right.
of everything.
Yes.
You know, you just attract what you put out, I feel like.
I agree.
I feel like a lot of it's just listening to your intuition.
Yeah.
And there's so much noise that can drown that out.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So looking forward, are there other things that you see in your future?
Yeah, I would love to do this in more communities. I'm just doing this in downtown Indianapolis. I would like to do it in other places in Indiana and maybe outside of Indiana. And I would like to develop workshops and be able to partner with organizations, especially nonprofits. Like,
Yeah.
nonprofits just have such a special place in my heart. And I would just love to do that. And I would love to obviously keep writing and keep publishing, self-publishing, and helping other people do that too.
Okay.
Yeah, I want to see the people that come to my group do stuff with their writing. And they are. It's so nice. They'll come in and, like, we always check in, like, have you been writing recently and stuff? And a lot of times it's like, no. And then they leave and then they come back and they're like, I have been now because, like, I was inspired.
Right.
You know, it's just putting yourself in those kind of positions. It's very heartwarming. I just love the connections, and that's where I want to see myself keep going. It's just keep on building the community and welcoming more people in.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the important part for me, I feel like.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've shared your purpose of helping people heal through community and writing, and how you've discovered it, and in all of that. I've sensed, as you've talked about your purpose, some of the feelings that might come with it, but how does it make you feel?
Warm and, like, magical. I always leave the sessions feeling like I can't explain what happens. It just kind of feels like magic in a way. And honestly, I feel like so much of that is just having a space where people can be vulnerable. It's hard to do.
Yeah.
Even, like, one-on-one with people or whatever. even being vulnerable yourself and with yourself is hard. Mm-hmm. So when you have a group of people together who can really open up and receive support, it just lifts the energy up. You're just brought to a higher place, I feel like.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of strength in coming together, especially with women. We go through so much of this, so many similar things, a lot of hard things, and coming together, it makes you feel like you can handle things.
Yeah.
Versus alone, it's hard to feel like you can handle things when you're alone.
Right.
And I felt like I was alone for a lot of my life, most of my life, and I don't really feel that way anymore.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you've shared a lot of feelings that are positive. Mm-hmm. Are there any negatives to deal with when you're living in your purpose?
I mean, yeah. Imposter syndrome. It's like, who am I to lead a group of people? What credentials do I have? It's like, well, I have some credentials. Yeah, just feeling like you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Thinking, I don't know, just doubting yourself.
Yeah.
Especially when you do something that's different, kind of out of the norm. You're taking a risk. It can be really scary, especially if it fails. And like coming on here for me was a risk as well. I was like, it can either go really good or maybe it won't go good and I'll be really sad. But it's a risk I have to take.
Right.
Because, it could go bad, but it could also go really great. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So just a lot of self-doubt, the fear, the anxiety.
And those things are things in our heads. They're things in our thoughts that we make up,
Yeah. And then I feel like once you start putting things out there into the universe, you just start attracting things. Like that's actually how my first book came to be, because I was talking out loud about how I wanted to write a book, and like our phones kind of listen to us. So like, I mean, that's like public knowledge. I got like an ad for a poetry challenge, and then 21-day challenge, and then they would publish your book. And I was like super depressed that day, like laying in bed, doom scrolling. And I came across that, and I was like, oh, I can do this. And it just took taking that step that leads you to so many other. It's like so much of taking the first step and having the courage to just keep taking the steps, even if you don't know where they're going to lead.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Get out of your head and into action.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's hard, but you can do it. It might go poor, but it also might go great.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Do it even if you're scared. Mm-hmm. Take the step, one step forward, and then the next. Yeah. So what advice do you have for those that are listening that are where you were and just asking those questions about what am I here to do and all of that? What's your advice?
Definitely get out of your own head. We grow up and we have such limiting beliefs, not just about ourselves, but also about the world and about other people, relationships. And it takes a lot of healing to get past all those limiting beliefs and to start believing that there is good out there and you can also do good things. It's stepping out of your comfort zone and exploring things you might not like. It can lead you to things that you do like. Listening to your intuition, I think, is really important. And knowing you're not alone. You always hear that, you're not alone, even when you feel like you really are. But like truly opening up to people, to the right people, can really make a huge difference in your life.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of strength and courage to do that, especially when you try opening up and not being alone. Sometimes if it's not to the right people, you're still going to feel alone.
Right.
And it might take going to different places and spaces and events to figure out where you might find the right people.
Right. Yeah. Well, and you created it.
Yeah. And if you can't find it, create it.
Yeah.
Like there is a place for everyone. I do feel like there's
Absolutely.
a place for everyone. It's just a matter of finding it or creating it.
Right.
Yeah.
Yes. Is there anything left unsaid on the topic of life's purpose?
It can feel so daunting and overwhelming. And even I get wrapped up in it. Oh, I'm not making enough money. My job isn't aligning exactly with what I want to do. It's just the mindset. You just got to shift. So many times I spend hours worrying so much about a particular event or something. And then that event will happen and it went perfectly fine. It's like that was all for nothing. Like sometimes you are kind of creating your own.
Right.
You're putting yourself in a cage and it's hard to recognize that and to break out of it. It's hard.
Yeah.
But you can do hard things. Life's purpose doesn't have to be this big, overwhelming, daunting thing. And it doesn't have to be one answer. That's the answer for your whole life. Or something that means so much. You know, it can be something so small as every day I want to make someone smile or just feel content for an hour of my day.
Right.
You know, it doesn't have to be something so big.
Absolutely. I think that is wise words. Emily, thank you so much for being on Purpose Project. I am taking so much away from this conversation. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
As a mother, I couldn't help but reflect on the weight that young adults carry as they step into their independence. The big questions about life's purpose can feel overwhelming, even paralyzing. Emily's story got me thinking, how can we make life's purpose feel less heavy and more accessible? How can we frame it as a journey that's fluid, that's personal, that's within reach for everyone, no matter where they are in life? Emily, thank you for your vulnerability and sharing your story. And more importantly, thank you for being a role model to us in living a life with courage and purpose. And to everyone listening, thank you for tuning in. Until next time, take care of yourselves and keep exploring your life's purpose. Purpose Project is brought to you for education and for entertainment purposes. This podcast is not intended to replace the advice that you would receive from a licensed therapist or doctor or any other qualified professional.